I have to add, you went into radio. That was your thing. How did the pasta sauce thing happen then?
So when I first moved here, I didn't know a single person. I did not know one soul in Rochester. So I was lonely, quite frankly. And on Sundays was the darkest time because Sundays were sauce days at my grandpa's house. So Sunday afternoons, those first few weeks and months in Rochester were sad for me. They were really sad. And I didn't start the business for a couple years, so it's not something I started right away. So at first I combated that by going home every other weekend, because I was young, I was in my early 20s, so it was almost like I was in college for a little while there. And then after that, I started just making sauce on my own. Then I started making some friends through the radio station, and I invited people over. I would do Sauce Sunday at my house. And then that thing happened that sometimes happens where you start to realize that the people in your life aren't gonna be there forever. My grandpa seemed invincible to me when I was young, you know. And then I started realizing every time I would go home, because now I was only seeing him every couple weeks, then it was every couple months, then it was a couple times a year. Those first few years, I started to see that he was getting old, and he wasn't going to be around forever. And so the original idea for the sauce was just to do it, make it look real, just make it look authentic, and see if I can get the guy who owns the grocery store in our hometown to put it on the shelf just one time as a gag, so that he could walk into that store and see his sauce on the shelf. Because, I don't want to bore you, but because his mom was actually the creator originally. My great-grandmother, who I never met, but he would tell stories. I actually have video of him on my phone telling the story of his mother making sauce for everybody and canning it, you know, on her own in the garage, and then all the family and neighbors would come and get it from her. So to him, it was his mom's thing. To me, it was my grandpa's thing. So it was a gift. I just wanted to do it for him as a gift. I just felt like I owed that to him. And then it accidentally became, so it went from a hobby to a side hustle. Then it became a business. There's a difference between a side hustle and a business, because I had to learn things like what's a profit and loss report. First time someone said that to me, I just pretended I knew.
So most people hit that wall, especially when you have a whole nother career and they say, that's nice, I don't want to do that. What propelled you to make that leap?
From side hustle to full business? Well, quite frankly, it was because it was starting to bring in a real income. Because at the very beginning, it was just paying for itself. First, it was just recouping what money it took to start the business. I didn't have any money when I started the business. I got a second job bartending to make money to start the business. I still had to go in debt after that. Then at first it was just make that money back. Then it was break even. Then it was making a little money, and then it was starting to grow, and it was starting to make some money. And I was saying, like, well, this could really be something. It was presenting itself to me. It was almost like fate was knocking at my door going, dude, you have an opportunity here. Pursue this. People seem to be liking this, and you seem to have at least gotten lucky and figured out a formula where it can be profitable. And so that was that. But I'm a weird entrepreneur, because most people who start businesses cannot wait to quit their day jobs. And I was in a weird position where I actually love my day job. So, and I still to this day haven't quit my day job, and that's almost become my side hustle. Maybe I shouldn't say that. That has sort of become I love them both, is what it is. It's like they're both my babies. I can't let either one of them go.
Yeah, you have a great job with WHE's. You've got this up and coming business. How do you make it all work? And you have a family.
Yeah, so everyone gives the same answer. It's people. It's the right people. If you just spend that time initially to make sure that the right people are in the right places, you're good. I mean, you have to hire your weaknesses. I think that's a big thing that you learn early on. You have to do everything. No human being is good at everything. You're gonna have weaknesses, recognizing them and hiring people to do those things. So before we started the interview, we were talking about a co-packer. So one of my things was I wasn't gonna be able to manufacture by myself. It was just impossible. My original plan was take a week off work, rent a kitchen, and overnights can 6 months worth of tomatoes and do that twice a year. It took 1 week for me to realize this is impossible. I can't do it. I will never keep up. We will go under immediately. Right. And so it was finding the right people to work with. So the answer is, I made it long and boring, but the answer is just the right people.
We have, even in our own area, we have Destry. We have a history of ragu. You see pasta sauces, these multinational corporations. How do you find a niche when you have these Goliaths out there?
Well, it was scary. At the very beginning, we went into Wegmans on East Ave, and I got kicked out because I stood there. And I started running like a little survey where I was asking people, what are they looking for in pasta sauce? And why did you buy that one? Because I was like any other Italian. I was like, never bought jar sauce. Always made my own sauce. Yeah. So when I decided to start this and really give it a go as a business, had to do my research, went bought a bunch of jarred sauces. A lot of them are good. So I was disappointed because I was like, oh, they're really good. You know, these sauces are great. So my wife and I went to East Ave Wegmans. This wasn't the time I got kicked out. That time I was alone running a little survey. Then I went to Penfield Wegmans and nobody kicked me out, so that was good. I ran like a 2-hour survey. But at East Ave I got kicked out. Van, the grocery manager, was on me. My wife and I went to East Ave Wegmans and we looked at all the different sauces. And because being in radio, I've written commercials for a long time. She works in public relations. She works for Dixon Schwabel. So the two of us have had to write a lot of copy for clients, try to create messages. And we said, what if we were our own client? We were writing this for ourselves. And one thing we say when we're writing radio commercials is you sell the emotion, not the product. So I'm not going to tell you all about the car. I'm not going to sell you the car. I'm going to sell you the emotion that you're going to feel as you drive off the lot in that car. And so we didn't see a lot of emotion in the category of sauce. There was a ton of sauce there and it was scary. And they tasted good. But all of it had one of two messages: either this is the best sauce you'll ever try, or 99 cents, cheap. And we were like, well, what if we do neither one of those? We're not gonna ever call ourselves the best sauce you'll ever have, and we're never gonna be 99 cents. We physically can't do it with our ingredients. So what if we just go for the emotional play? And so our label looks like a children's book. It's a grandfather and a little boy picking tomatoes together, and it's a cartoon. So it's not like anything else on the shelf, and that was where we saw our niche. We went, oh, we're gonna do the emotional play, not the gourmet or the price. So
yeah. Where are you right now? Where's the sauce?
So the sauce is, we're obviously headquartered in Rochester. You can get the sauce anywhere from like Connecticut, New Jersey, New York City. We're in a couple of chains there. We're in a handful of Whole Foods. In this area in Rochester, obviously the big one is Wegmans, Syracuse and Buffalo as well. You can find us in stores. The big driving force for us has been two things though: mom and pop stores, the little locally owned shops, and then also arts festivals. That was another thing where we really found our niche, was going to festivals like Park Ave Fest, Cornhill, even Lilac, Fairport Canal Days, things like that, and setting up a booth, letting people try the sauce. Those were the types of people who were looking for artisanal food items.
Do you find that you rode that wave that we saw over the last 10, 15 years where people are starting to go back, look local, look more artisanal?
Yeah. I got lucky. I didn't know that was happening, man. I got really lucky. Timing was right, and I did not do that on purpose. I got so lucky because our timing was a big deal. Because another thing happened after we launched, Mario's. Mario's had what happened with Mario's, right? And so they went away. And that was shortly after we launched and after we started gaining real traction. And so the timing of the local food movement, people caring about what ingredients are in their food, and then all of a sudden the one local sauce brand that had some real traction goes away. And all of a sudden I'm going, did we time this correctly? Oops, you know, thank God.
Yeah. That is great. And it seems like what I like about the WHE Show for you is it provides that creative outlet that you might not get on a day-to-day basis doing this kind of business.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the week of New Year's, actually, Adam, I had office work. I had saved myself a bunch of office work because I was off on Thursday the 2nd and Friday the 3rd. I didn't have radio. So I spent all day at home in an office doing paperwork, and I'm not that guy. By the time Friday rolled around, late Friday afternoon, I told my wife, I was like, I can't do that. I'm not a guy who could work from home and never leave the house. Really? I got to be around people. I have to be around creativity.
Is there going to come a point, though, or could there come a point where you don't have an option, where this becomes so big that you just can't ignore the breadth of work ahead of you?
It could happen. It certainly, there are days already where it does happen that way. And in fairness, it sometimes happens the other way around, where I've got a lot of radio to do that day. Right. A lot of extra stuff there, and I'm going, well, when do I get my sauce work done? It could. I mean, you talk about questions that keep me up at night, man. This is that's the one. You ever drive around in your car and you have like the big picture in your head? Oh yeah. Yeah, so that's the big picture that's in my, and I don't have the answer yet. Right. I don't know.
Can you look at Destry? It's really started with sauce, but
I've
you
never
could.
Heard of them. You could, dude. That's like my heroes.
Yeah, they're incredible. But look at what they do now. I mean, you might be asked in a way by your customers, can you do this? Can you do this product?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I am asked all the time, and I just say yes when it's realistic, and no when it's not realistic. It's tough as an entrepreneur. You tend to say yes to everything, and then figure it out after you leave the room. How am I going to do that?
Right.
I mean, I've always got one or two of those cooking where I'm like, how am I going to deliver on that? Seems to happen more often than not, though, that we end up delivering. So
Good for you. So really the last question I have is, when you open up a can of your sauce, the traditional, the original, do you still taste your great grandmother's sauce?
Yeah, that's my favorite part. My favorite part is I feel like we nailed it. I was really worried that it would be a little off. Don't get me wrong. You and Jill want to come over on a Sunday, and you give me the chance over my own stove to give me like that 6 to 8 hour simmer, meat that went in raw, animal fat exposed to tomatoes over low heat for a long period of time. You give me the chance. I think I can beat my jar by like 1% at home. I actually make it like a competitive thing where I want to beat my jar, but the jars really is the right thing.